okay, quickly, so I misunderstand. Are we saying that 2 plus 2, if you say it's 4, that's racist? I mean, that sounds like we may be mischaracterizing it. What, if you can quickly sum it up?
No, that's not mischaracterizing it at all. Math is basically racist under this ideology because it says there is no such thing as an objective reality. So 4 might not be the right number. 2 plus 2 might actually equal 5.
All right, that was Dr. Karlin Boroshenko. Now, what I know from Dr. Karlin Boroshenko, that is not her actual thought process. So, when I found that video, I saw it as interesting because I know that's not the way she actually thinks. So, and it was titled, "The Guest" on Fox News explains how math is racist. All right, so, but I just want to make sure that I point out that I do not know Dr. Karlin Boroshenko to think like that, at least not from what I've seen and what I've heard from her in the past. She does not believe that math is indeed racist. I think she does have the tendency of using a little just smart assiness to explain things to get the point across. So we will not. I don't want anyone knocking Dr. Karlin Boroshenko for that. She's known for being. She was very leftist at one point, and she is. Her claim to fame is when she went to a Trump rally and met with the people that were, of course, in the crowd, and she said she couldn't have been in a more kinder, more wonderful, more expressive, more inviting place. And that's where she started to. She hasn't said, "Hey, look at me, flag waving Republican" or anything like that. But she has indeed walked away from the Democrat Party. Walked away from the Democratic Party because she realizes the lies that she was filled with from the Democrat Party. A to Jet Noise, Rumble.com, Facebook.com, YouTube.com. Please subscribe, hit like, subscribe, argue, compliment. I'll take those as best as I can. Chime in. Let me know what you're thinking, or let me know if there's something that you would like me to look into, and get my opinion on that particular subject. And today, you can hear what we just heard from Dr. Boroshenko, that math is considered racist. And there are states, there's school districts, what have you, that are now taking it to heart. In the latest case of that, Oregon governor signs bill suspending math and reading requirements. It says here, Governor Kate Brown, the Oregon Democrat, signed a bill last month with a little fanfare that drops the requirement that high school students prove proficiency in reading, writing, and, of course, math before graduation. The Oregonian reported that the governor has seemed to avoid discussing Senate Bill 744, where you'd be able to find that online. So Senate Bill 744, you'll be able to find that online. You can see that they are trying to do away with the requirement of math, writing, and reading. Her move to sign a bill was not public until recently. Did not hold a sign ceremony, no press release. As well, the bill was first signed on July 14th, but due to a glitch, did not necessarily get revealed until July 29th. In June, the state lawmakers voted to approve the bill that suspended the requirements for students for 3 years. So this is allegedly a temporary thing. Maybe we can find out why. Foundations for a Better Oregon said a statement at the time that the bill is intended to truly reflect that what every student needs to thrive in the 21st century. Supporters of the bill insist that considering math and reading essentials skills has been an unfair challenge for students who do not test well. So, is that the chicken or the egg that came first on that? They did not test well. Some Republicans have come out, against the bill and claim that lowers expectations for our kids, but there was some bipartisan support. So some Republicans came out and wagged their finger, but some Republicans said, hey, it's okay if kids don't read and write. Deputy Communications Director from Brown's office, Charles Boyle, and that's Kate Brown, Governor Kate Brown's office. Charles Boyle said that the new standards for graduation will help benefit these states. And here is the kicker, folks. By doing away with the requirements of knowing that these students can get out of school without knowing math, without knowing reading, and without knowing writing, this will benefit. And you know what's coming out of my mouth next. This will benefit blacks, Latinos, Latinx, Indigenous, Asian, Pacific Islander, tribal, and students of color. Once again, we have white liberals drowning these communities, the communities I just mentioned. Black, Latin, Asian, POC people of color. Once again, white liberals saying that those particular communities, those particular groups of people are not capable of learning. Right? And then their excuse is going to be like, well, they're not capable of learning Western ways. They live in Western ways. They don't know anything else. If they're going to your Oregon schools, that is like the West of the West. Right? I was looking over Senate Bill 744, and I found a particular. Let me just read you this outtake from this bill. When conducting the review of developing recommendations under the section, the department shall use a transparent process that is equitable, accessible, and inclusive. We'll get back to that. Enable and encourage meaningful engagement. Representatives from historically undeserved students, including students who have a disability, are from immigrant or refugee populations are from racial or ethnic groups that have historically experienced academic disparities. This is just pure frustration. Are English language learners, all right, these are the people that they are just going to let skate by and give them a diploma because there's some sort of like, I don't know, not quite able to communicate here in America, or just learning the language, or their ancestors weren't allowed to be educated. Now that everyone is allowed to be educated, that's not quite good enough for white liberals. That we would make those particular people have to work to get their education. Youth-led organizations that engage in power and youth. Huh? So that is telling me that if some kids say, hey, this is tough, we've decided during our little group, our little book club, that learning is tough. Youth-led organizations that engage and empower youth. That is enough to say, oh, it's just too hard. Kids, youth-led organization, remember that, is allowed to tell you that learning is hard, we shouldn't have to learn. Communities from across the state develop recommendations for changes to requirements of high school diplomas based on data and engagement process described in a paragraph of the subsection with the goal of ensuring, I said we'd get back to this, with the goal of ensuring that the process and outcomes related to the requirements of high school diplomas are equitable, accessible, and inclusive. Now that all sounds just darling, that to make sure that the process of getting a diploma is fair. But that's not what they're saying. They're saying that it's not the process that needs to be fair. It's just that everyone needs the diploma. The same stinking outcome. No matter what your kid is going through. If your kid can finish as valedictorian, which you know they're going to do with that, we'll do away with that. If your kid can finish with as a valedictorian in their school, and I don't know, Mumfufa comes in and can't speak a lick of English, they can get the same exact outcome despite Mumfufa not being able to speak English in the United States of America. Equitable outcome. Inclusive outcome. There is a reason why some of our children are lawyers, and some of our children have a house gutter cleaning business. Pick up poop, dog poop from yards for a living. All right? Some people work with their hands. Some people are able to hobnob and rub elbows and get things done. Somebody work with their hands, get things done, hobnob and rub elbows to get things done. Some people are great on computers. Some people are great underneath a car. Some people cut grass. Some people are corporate lawyers. Every single one of those things, of course, are noble, honest livings. But what we're having our children go through right now, what these governments are doing to our children right now, having them wear masks, which is breaking down their immune systems, breaking down their individuality. You go home, your kid comes home, and they may or may not be the same exact kid as they were when they left in the morning to go to school. But in school, they've already broken down because they're being constantly told, put on your mask, keep your mask on. There is no expressions anymore. You can't make contacts anymore. You don't know what the other person is getting at. Is it a humorous statement they've made? Are they being intentionally sarcastic or angry, or is it we can't even get that anymore. And now, once again, the white liberal is bringing the soft racism of low expectations to people that are not white. Oregon has put this into place. California is looking to put this into place. It's the usual suspects, the Illinois, New Yorks, what have you. Usual suspects. Do you expect that this is going to be a positive for people of color, if you will, by letting these people just skate through? It's not going to be the same for whites. Not going to be the same for whites. Of course, they're going to have to find a way to graduate with math and reading. And it's funny because one of the points that was brought up was Bill Gates is behind funding this whole math is racist thing. And do you think that, like, the Bill Gates at Microsoft would hire people that didn't know math and reading or anything like that? Because at this point right now, it just looks like they're just positioning white people to be the breadwinners. And then what becomes of that? Are they just going to, I don't know, make money, and it's just going to just go to the other communities? Is that because there's no real explanation why anyone thinks that black people cannot do math, that Hispanic people cannot read, that Pacific Islanders cannot write. What is the end game? What is the end game for the white liberal when they say math is racist? I can't even explain that. But I do have an interesting little outtake, or I should say an interesting little video here. This is where someone that believes strongly that math is racist, and she's speaking to Jesse Waters, and she's trying to explain to him exactly why math is indeed racist.
How is 2 + 2 = 4? How does that discriminate against black people or brown people?
1 stick plus 2 stick. Humans were like, hey, here's a stick, here's another. I just did some math. That was not racist. We're on the same page with that?
Okay.
1 + 1 = 2?
Yes.
Okay. Humans have then used math and numbers and statistics in all sorts of ways, from counting black and brown bodies as they made them property and brought them over to these lands, to much more recently, scholars who said that white people were more intelligent than people of color. That's called scientific racism, the use of statistics and tools to construct the idea. It's like something deep in our brains. It's hard to recognize, and that's why it requires time, Jesse. I asked your question,
just
and it took
because
me
people
more than
counted
3 years to get here.
With slavery, does it make counting racist? You understand? Something could be
Absolutely
related
not.
to each other, but not a causation. You understand what I mean?
Do you understand what statistics is?
I think I do. I'm not understanding, though, if you understand. That's the point. Doctor, I have to run. I have to run.
Yeah.
Doctor, maybe we could do this again sometime and you could explain it to me.
I would
Thank you
love
very
to
much.
come to the Democratic debate
All
in
right.
Milwaukee next year.
Thank you. Still ahead. A water.
Yeah, so whatever that was that she was trying to get across, I have no idea. It's somehow counting slaves is the reason that we shouldn't be teaching black people math. What would Katherine Johnson say? Katherine Johnson, the reason, if you haven't seen the movie Hidden Figures, she's in the movie itself, lead character, and Katherine Johnson, the scientist that helped with the calculation of landing on the moon, of having our guys land on the moon. Her math, Katherine Johnson, black. Her math. Does Neil deGrasse Tyson, does he believe that math is racist? I can actually see him saying that. But statistics, that woman just explained that statistics in counting people of color somehow is reason enough for black people not to learn math. I don't even know which way to go with this. There's going to be a lot more to come, on a lot more to talk about on this thing. I've done this story before about math being racist, but I had no idea that they were going to that the whole idea was to remove math and reading and writing from schools. So that it'll still be taught, if you will, but it won't be a requirement. You can be a dunce. You can't read the McDonald's menu. You can't count the singles in your pocket. Not that they'll have singles anymore. 2 + 2 = 5. It doesn't sound like a very strong America. Yet another way to weaken the upcoming generations in this country, making them more dependent on other countries. I wonder what China would say about all this. Ada Jet Noise, ADA Jet Noise. Thanks for joining me again. Rumble.com, Facebook.com, YouTube.com. Hopefully I'll be back soon. Thanks for joining me again today. And till then, until I see you again, big hug, be good, be still. Enjoy your life.